Good evening.
Hear, hear.
What kind of government does this country want, and how do we go about getting it? Well, it was to answer questions like these that my colleagues and I recently organized a nationwide Gallup poll. And the results from this showed that from a cross-section of the public who were questioned, 1% said yes, 2% said no, 48% didn't know, and 49% didn't want to know.
Hear, hear, I say.
Now, this didn't seem very satisfactory, so we decided to question other cross-sections of the public who weren't quite as cross as the first section.
Jolly good. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
It was agreed that the range of people interviewed should be as varied and interesting as possible. I myself personally questioned several thousand young ladies whose ages ranged from 18 to 20.
Well played, I say to you.
They were very varied and extremely interesting. 66% said no, 13% slapped my face, and 20% called the police. Yes, and 1% said yes without any questions being asked.
Jolly good.
It became increasingly evident that there exists in this country today a marked lack of political awareness.
Hear, hear, my good man.
And it is in an endeavor to counteract this deplorable state of affairs that my colleagues and I have prepared this evening's program. I think I can say with confidence that we have present here tonight experts on almost every aspect of political thinking in this country, from the conservatives on the one hand to the socialists, the Labour on the other.
Jolly good things what you're saying out there. Yes.
We shall take a look at some of the principal issues on which the forthcoming election will be fought, so that by the end of the evening, you, the voter, will go away from here knowing exactly why you are voting in this election, or why you are not voting in the election, as the case may be. Or if you don't know why you are not voting in the election, at least you will go away from here knowing exactly why you don't know why you are not voting in the election. In other words, we are going to help you make up your minds, or not make up your minds, as the case may be, so that you will go away from here knowing exactly why you have or have not made up your minds. And if you don't know, you will at least go away knowing exactly why you don't know, why you have or have not made up your minds, why you are or are not voting in the election.
You twit.
You see, this is a time for clear thinking and decision, and we are here tonight to help you make them, or not make them, as the case may be.
Why don't you make your mind up, you twit? You don't say one thing, follow that by a clear thing. When you speak again, you don't say nothing at all. That's what I want to hear. You're not a twit.
Which way will the man in the street vote on election day? We sent out our roving reporter to conduct a nationwide trot poll. There wasn't time to work up a Gallup, and here are a few excerpts from his conversations with typical British voters.
Excuse me, sir, who are you going to vote for on election day?
I'm going to vote for Pandit Nehru.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm looking for typical British voters.
Oh, I am a typical British voter of the times. My God, I should say so. I am definitely extremely British, all right. Mohammed Ali Higgins is my name.
But Pandit Nehru is an Indian.
Oh, yes. Yes, you noticed it. He as Indian as they come. He is extremely Indian. But I don't hold that against him.
Of course not, but why are you planning to vote for him in a British election?
Ah, well, because, you see, I think he is the right man for the job.
You don't think any of the more likely candidates will win?
Oh, no, they're not, definitely not. I mean, who is going to vote for Waziri Bandaranaike when they can vote for Pandit Nehru?
But surely Pandit Nehru won't stand much chance in a British election.
I don't agree, sir. Not at all. I think if you can find enough people like me in Paddington, he is certain to win.
You, sir?
Oh.
Who are you voting for in the general election?
I shall vote for the Winston Churchill.
I see. And why have you made this choice?
Because I believe in the Labour Party.
Tell me, sir, who are you voting for in the general election?
Always running down the old country, running England down. Chinese got the fudge and the bronchitis and all them terrible weathers. And they keep saying, oh, south of France with all the hot heat and all the posh birds in the bikinis. And they come to me and they got the nerve to ask me, born and bred in London. They say, which would you rather have, London or the south coast of France? And I'm me, a proud cockney, mate. I'm proud to look them in the eye and say, south of France.
And who are you going to vote for on election day?
Oh, not you, sweetheart. Now take that dirty great microphone out of me face. Oh, by the grace of Peter O'Toole, I'll ram it down your rotten, rat-infested conservative throat. I'll take that to you. Very good.
Now, sir, you seem to be a responsible-looking citizen with your morning jacket and pinstripe trousers. What are you, bank manager, would be my guess? Now, which party are you hoping will be victorious on election day?
Victorious on election day.
The Tories, perhaps?
Tories, perhaps.
Would you say that a man in your position will benefit from a Conservative victory?
Yes, victory.
And I thought so. What is your name, sir?
Douglas Hume. Well, it was when I left Hume this morning. Conservative victory. That's awfully good.
First, let us take a look at the attitude of the principal parties involved. We sent along a reporter to ask a prominent Conservative Party diplomat and spokesman, Sir Wellington Booth, to give his official appraisal of the present political situation in this country.
In your opinion, Sir Wellington, where does Britain stand after 13 years of unbroken Tory rule?
Is it really 13 years? Already? Is it really? I'd no idea. Goodness me, how time does fly, doesn't it, eh? 13 years, eh? Let's see, what does that make? 13 from 1962?
64.
64? Is it really? Good Lord. I don't know where the time goes to. 13 from 64, that's, I should be able to work this out. I was Chancellor of the Exchequer for 5 years, you know. 3 from 4 is 1. Carried on. 1941. It must have been a wartime election.
Actually, sir, it was 1951.
That's more like it. Thought you got your facts wrong. 1951. Of course it was. I distinctly remember. 41. The Australians were here.
The South Africans.
That's right. Yes, the South African Australians were here. Ramadin and Valentine, all that lot. Of course, all those attractive fast bowlers. Whish, bang, whee, oh, like that they used to go.
Sir Wellington, what do you, as a diplomat, consider to have been the major achievements of the Conservative administration?
Well, what did you say?
I said, what do you consider the achievements?
No, I still can't get over that 30 years business.
13.
13, was it? Ah, yes. Well, of course, I'm not likely to forget that in a hurry, because for 13 years I was the first Lord of the Admiralty. Not the second, third, fourth, or fifth, no. I was the first. I got there early, you see. And even as a little boy in a sailor suit, I always remember I had a soft spot for the Navy. And I can honestly say I've been keen on sailors ever since. Next question, please.
With respect, sir, you still haven't answered either of the previous questions.
But we seem to have been talking for ages, man.
Yes, sir, but you digressed slightly.
Did I? Terribly sorry. Thank heaven there were no ladies present. Not like me at all, you know. I mean, as a diplomat, I'm not the sort of chap to go waffling on when there are these important questions to be answered.
Indeed, no, sir. Where does Britain stand?
Good heavens, I should think not. I wasn't president of the Board of Trade for 8 years for nothing, you know. At least I don't think I was. Anyway, it's too late to worry about it now. Next question.
There has been a lot of criticism over the government's attitude regarding resale price maintenance. And I would like to ask you...
Now, I'm glad you asked me that. I'm very glad. I don't know anything about it, of course, but I'm very glad you asked me. I always think it's nice to be asked, don't you? takes me back to my days at the Hume office, or the Home office as it was then. I didn't know much about that either, of course, but I do remember I was always being asked to give reprieves. They were sort of a weekend passes, I think they were. Of course, I always turned them down without looking at them. I didn't want to get involved. Do you know, they even had the nerve to phone me up at Ascot once, right in the middle of the Gold Cup. That is, I wasn't in the middle of the cup, but in the race. Damned impertinence, phoned me up. I remember people always asking me what I thought about capital punishment. And I always used to say, capital, as if I knew. But they were happy days, you know. Very, very happy. Let's see now, how long was I Home Secretary for? Oh, must have been 20 years if it was a day. Come to think of it, it was a day. I think it was a Friday.
Resale price maintenance.
And the next day, it was my turn to be Minister of Defence. That was a wonderful job, that. I used to get free ammunition for the grouse shoots. And there was that splendid fellow at the Russian embassy. He used to keep me supplied with vodka and caviar all the year round. So he was a charming fella. He used to collect stamps, so I used to let him have all the letters I got from Washington. He was terribly one-sided, but he didn't seem to mind a bit. Delightful chap. I remember I used to get lots of letters from the Americans about a new secret washing powder they were working on at the time. I distinctly remember it used to say nuclear detergent at the top of the page. I believe it was called Topsec, or something like that. I forget now, anyhow. I never used to read them anyway, but it was wonderful caviar, though. Absolutely. And you know, I often think that if everyone had the same attitude to politics as myself, we'd all be living on vodka and caviar. I say, is it really 13 years?
That simple summarizing of the Tory attitude by Sir Wellington Boot, OM, should help to convince thousands of people, though probably not, to vote Tory.
Hear, hear, my captain. Hear, hear.
Now, let us take a look at Labour. This next interview should help to convince thousands more people that perhaps they should vote Tory after all.
You twit.
Our reporter discussed an optimistic socialist view of Britain in the 60s with party spokesman the Right Honourable Herbert Propper.
Mr. Propper, if Labour win the next...
When Labour win the election?
Oh, I see. Anyway...
A landslide, that's what it'll be.
Really? Well, whatever the case...
Avalanche might be a better word.
Perhaps...
I'd even go as far as to say a holy coast, if I thought anybody knew what they were talking about.
Well, I'm sure there are some.
I shouldn't think there's one person in 100 in this country knows what a holy coast is. And that is another reason why Great Britain needs a Labour government.
Oh, well, now, that's what I wanted to...
Right, by the time we've been in orifice 6 months, the whole country will know what a holy coast is.
I'm sure you're right.
I know I'm right. Great Britain is going to experience an economic and intellectual boom like it's never known before. They won't know what's in them.
How do you intend to achieve this?
Well, we're going to nationalise the railways for a start.
They're nationalised already.
You see? We're not wasting a moment.
But the railways have lost a fortune under nationalisation. I mean, how could you expect to turn that into a profit?
It's quite simple. We're going to nationalise train robberies too. And remember, and I know this, they're tax-free.
But, Mr. Propper...
Labour thinking is big. Do you realise how much money the hairlines are going to make under naturalisation?
Yes, I believe VOAC has a total deficit to date of about £80 million.
£80 million. And we're going to use that money to build universities and buy blind dogs for old people.
But, Mr. Propper, that £80 million is a deficit. They lost it.
Exactly my point. They wouldn't have lost it if they'd have spent it on old universities for blind people's dogs, and that's only the beginning.
I see. Well... tell us about education.
We're in flavour of it.
Yes, but your plan...
Oh, modernisation. We're going to build new schools, new towns, new roads, especially new roads. Hundreds of them. Multi-lane, multi-level highways, all crisscrossing in and out every direction. By 1970, nobody will know where they are. It's all a matter of planning.
How do you begin such a huge and complex operation?
Well, to start with, we're going to build a giant expansion to the M1, right into the heart of London and out the other side. 60 miles an hour all the way, no stopping or turning off.
But that's not going to help anybody wanting to get into the heart of London.
No, but it'll cut the journey from Ruislip to Haywards Heath by half.
Oh, That's wonderful.
It certainly is. It takes 15 minutes off my journey home anyhow. And it'll reduce the traffic jams in Uxbridge too.
I didn't know they had any.
They won't now.
What's this going to cost?
£18 million. We're getting the money from BOAC and in that order. You see, there's a balance against their deficit.
But surely...
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that we're going to use the money to build blind universities for old people's dogs. Well, we are.
I don't want to see...
Of course you don't. Everybody that travels through London on the Ruislip-Haywards motorway will be charged a toll fee of £5 for every 5 miles they travel. In that way, the first 3 million people that travel from Ruislip to Haywards will pay for the motorway. And then we'll give the money back to BOAC to build the universities.
But how are you going to collect the toll fees if the motorists have to do 60 miles an hour and there's no stopping? I said...
Yes, I heard you. Well, you see, we're going to train an army of 40,000 racing motorcyclists to collect the fees on the move. This will automatically bring down unemployment and at the same time create a boom in the motorcycle industry.
But what's this going to cost?
£80 million.
But where are you going to get the money?
By selling the universities to BOAC. In that way, they not only pay off their deficit, but they'll have the best educated air crews in the world.
But what's going to become of all the students if you sell the universities?
As compensation, they'll all receive free travel for life in BOAC airliners. Travel broadens the mind, mate.
But you know what that would cost?
Yes, £80 million. When Labour is in power, money will circulate at high speed. This will automatically bring down their cost of living because nobody will have the money long enough to be able to pay for anything. This, in turn, will bring down the level of income tax. And in due course, the government. By that time, the entire country will be so prosperous and well-educated that I'm confident we will be re-elected with an increased minority.
And what will you do then?
Retire.
Why?
What would you do if you had £80 million?
There are those who have said that this election will be primarily a battle for leadership between dull Alec and smart Alec. For some months past, Mr. Harold Wilson has been falling over backwards to try and create a public image of himself as an ordinary man of the people. Well, that's all right. I think most people would agree he is pretty ordinary to start with. But lately, he seems to be in danger of driving this new image a little too hard.
What do we, as a nation, want out of life? You and me, the everyday, ordinary, run-of-the-mill, working-class man in the street. What do we want out of life? That is the question I ask myself every evening when I get home from the office. And I'm sitting in front of the fire with my pipe and my slippers and my evening paper, and the wife and the kids and the baby crying and the telly and the football pools, and the cat and the dog and the budgie and the washing up, and Granny and Grandad and a pint of beer and the mortgage, and my pipe and my slippers and my evening paper. And I say to myself, what do I want out of life? Me, an ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill, face-in-the-crowd citizen. Good as the next man, but no better. No better. I look around me, and what do I see? I see Granny and Grandad and the cat and the dog and the wife and the kids and the baby crying and the budgie and the telly and the washing machine. But apart from all that, what do I see? I see the kind of future that I want, and the kind of future that thousands of other ordinary, dull, dreary, humdrum, everyday, common as muck, working-class chaps like me want. And as I sit there with the wife and the family, puffing at my slippers and reading my pipe, I look around me and I say to myself, what have I got to look forward to? I know I've got the telly, with wonderful programmes like Corporation Street and Contact and Tiptoe and Son, that millions of dreary, boring people like me know and love so well. And I know I've got me Pools coupon with Arsenal versus West Bromwich Wanderers and Tottenham Hotshots versus Sheffield Tuesday and the Triple Chance and all that. And me bingo sessions with 49, the Party Line, or Downing Street number 10. And I know I've got Granny and Grandad and the mortgage and the wife and the kids and the baby still crying and the dog and the noise of the contentment of the average, dull, boring, happily married man. And yet, as I eat me fish and chips out of me evening paper and dip me pickled onions in me cocoa and stroke the cat and knock out me pipe and scratch me head, I can't help feeling that somehow it isn't enough. And I start to think how lucky I am to have a home and Granny and Grandad and the washing machine and the wife and the kids and the dog barking and the baby screaming its little head off and the fridge and the vacuum cleaner all around me like this. And I think I'd like to share Granny and Grandad and the baby, all these beautiful things. I'd like to share them with everyone. Let them all have a go. I know it sounds like a daydream, but there must be millions of poor people who don't have these advantages. And as I sit there, stroking Grandad and knocking out the cat and shoving a pickled onion in the baby's mouth and throwing my slippers at the dog, I'm seized with an overwhelming desire to see this dream become reality. And I shall. If it's the last thing I do, I shall. A Labour government in 5 years would turn Britain into a country where every man could come home at night to Granny and Grandad and the dog and the baby and the pools and the 1,000 blessings of a happy socialist home, making a Britain fit for millions of dull, dreary, boring people like me to live in.
We in the Liberal Party are frequently and unjustly accused of having no alternative political policy to offer the country. Well, I can tell you here and now that we have several alternative political policies to offer the country. For example, we believe in nuclear disarmament.
No, darling. We decided we didn't believe in nuclear disarmament unless the others did it too.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we don't believe in nuclear disarmament, but we do believe in the common market.
No, darling. Remember, we decided we didn't believe in the common market unless it was allied to the common market.
Yeah.
There.
And furthermore, we believe in the United Nations.
No, darling. Don't you remember we agreed to replace the United Nations with a world government?
Oh, yes, of course. We believe in a world government. And the Liberal government, looking fearlessly to neither the left nor the right, will continue to drive straight down the middle of the road. And in conclusion, I would remind the country that Lloyd George knew my father, and father knew Lloyd George.
Bravo!
Lloyd George knew my father, father knew Lloyd George, Lloyd George knew my father, father knew Lloyd George, Lloyd George knew my father, father knew
I'm standing at a busy junction on one of the main fast roads out of London. With me is the senior official from the Ministry of Transport, Sir Orson Carr. First of all, Sir Orson, perhaps you'd care to say a few words about the accident rate on the roads.
Yes, I would. I'm tremendously encouraged by the increasing awareness of road users of the need for greater safety on the roads. Thanks to the government's tremendous road building scheme, which is tremendous, at least another 100 yards of motorway will be open by the end of the year. At the end of next year, when the full fruits of our tremendous endeavours will be in full fruit, no less than 2 or 3 important roads leading out of London will be no less than 6 inches wider, which I think is just simply tremendous. I think there's no question that the accident rate is declining, whatever the newspapers and statistics may say to the contrary, and that the motorists' new attitude towards... road safety, coupled with his consideration for his fellow road users.
He's not idiot. Yeah, you with your body, with your caravan, and I go.
Especially pedestrians. Will together guarantee that in the not-too-distant future, the conditions on the roads of Great Britain will be something that no one could possibly have envisaged a few years ago. And I would like to think that I have played my part. In helping create the road conditions to which Britain to look forward in the late 1960s. And I would like this to be my avatar.
Mate, we'll have you out in time for the election.
Undoubtedly, another of the major issues on which the election will be fought is that of housing. One party has an optimistic scheme intended to be a big vote catcher, which promises a revolutionary new look in suburban houses. Our correspondent spoke to the architect who is promoting the scheme on the suburban site of the prototype houses.
Perhaps you'd care to describe some of the features of the proposed new houses.
Basically, there are 5 types of houses, all based on what I call classic architectural styles. Firstly, you see over there, we have Type A, the space-age Gothic terraced house. Not a great deal of room in these, though they do boast a 6-foot open-plan living dining area. It's really for the smaller family. One nice feature, though, they do have cavity walls, which can be converted into extra bedrooms if required. Then next door we have Type B, very desirable, semi-detached, prefabricated Georgian residence with beautifully landscaped grounds comprising almost 1/19 of an acre. A handy bit of land that, including garden shed, also Georgian style, and a stainless steel neo-Baroque fitted kitchen unit. Now over here we have Type C, and we are now getting to the what I call bigger stuff. Now this is a superior character residence with mock timber elevations in the pseudo-Tudor style. A really lovely property this, 4-bed, 2 recep, centrally situated, only 45 minutes bus ride from the shops. Then here, Type D, a real piece of resistance, this one, which in my opinion will sell like what I call hot cakes. Now these are individual architect designed, no names, no petrol, parquet floored, plastic thatch, period bijou maisonettes with separate garage and space for a WC, or the other way round, whichever you prefer. Anyway, there it is. Now, if you care to follow me around what I call this corner, I'd like to show you a house of which you've never seen the like of in your life before. There, now, look at that.
Good God! What is it?
What is it? It is only probably the most advanced modern living unit design ever conceived by man, on the market today for the family of tomorrow. Just suit, I would say, a nice fellow like yourself.
Yes, but...
Now, just a moment before you say anything, let me just tell you a thing or two about these little properties. Firstly, might I mention that I have one of these myself. That will show you that they're not rubbish.
Yes, but...
Secondly, they are probably more in demand than Buck House would be if it was to be converted into maisonettes.
Yes, but...
Thirdly, now, you see that strip of grass?
Where?
There, between the pavement and the road.
Yes.
That is Greenbelt. I can promise you that they will never build on there. They are not allowed to build on there. That is Greenbelt.
Yes, but...
Now, if you just care to stop talking for a moment and step inside the main, what I call house,
you will see at once that you've got every modern convenience you can think of. Now notice the ultra-modern low-slung front door.
Cow!
Careful your head. Now, the first feature you will notice is that there is no entrance hall. Straight away, less cleaning. You see, you come straight through the front door into the second bedroom. Notice how nice and warm it is, did you? Well, now, that is hot blast air conditioning and central heating plant, which can give you a room temperature ranging from 180 degrees to 40 below. That is, if you want it, of course. Then you have fitted what I call carpets in the kitchen.
In the kitchen?
Yes, you see, in this house, you cook in the bathroom.
Why?
Well, for one thing, it's cleaner and more hygienic. Also, because the cooker is in the bathroom.
Why can't it be in the kitchen?
Well, there's no room in the kitchen for a cooker. I mean, you see, it's got a double bed in it.
But why?
Well, the luxury, you see. Now, you have 3 bedrooms, including the intercommunicating bedroom and garage for when you drive home feeling tired. Now, how many architects would have thought of that? I can tell you, not very many.
I haven't got a car.
Then you've got 4 bedrooms. You see, everything in this house can be turned to advantage. Every modern convenience. Up those stairs, you see, there's a separate WC on the roof, which commands a quite unique and panoramic view of the coal shed. Believe me, sir, it is a house in a million. And we are putting up nearly $1 million in the next 6 months. Above all, this house has what I call virtue of complete privacy. That is why there's no what I call windows, you see. And yet, if you come to the front door...
Ow!
Bump your head all the time. You see now how wonderfully situated you are here. Only a stone's throw from the bus route. Look, there's a stone. There you are, that was a number 28. Well, so what do you say?
But, what do you mean? What do I say?
Do you want it?
Want it? Oh, I don't know. I'd want my wife to see it first, you see.
Oh, yes, of course you would. But, I mean, if you just sign this little slip of paper, it would mean that you have first option on this unique prototype property.
Unique? Well, that's marvellous.
That's right, just sign there. Thank you.
I'll bring it along this evening, then. Cow!
Careful your head. Well, goodbye, sir, and don't worry. I won't let it go meantime. You've got the first option for the next 999 years.
Both major political parties are, of course, committed to preserving what has become known as Britain's special relationship with the United States of America. Our reporter discussed the nature of this relationship with a government expert on American affairs, Sir Ethelred Nashville Tweed.
Get in, Rover. Good.
Tell me, Sir Ethelred, how did you come to be in charge of this particular government department?
Oh, well, you see, I had an American grandmother. Not, of course, that had anything to do with it, but you see, it occurred to the PM that I might be the sort of chap who might know something about this, this sort of thing. Do you see?
Sir Alec chose you himself for this position.
Sir Alec, oh, no, the PM.
Macmillan?
No. What's his name? You know. Tall chap. A moustache. Chamberlain. That's the fellow, Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain?
Neville, that's right. Neville Chamberlain. Always wanted to call him Josie for some reason. Anyhow, that answers your question.
Tell me, Sir Ethelred, how do you view...
How do you do?
No view. How do you view the special relationship with America? Now, how do you view it?
A sort of, the same way one regards any colony which one is granted its independence. I firmly believe in being friendly to the natives, always did, especially after Rorke's Drift. A wonderful dance. Eh, what? Those fuzzy wuzzies, they were fighting men to be reckoned with. Endless wall of black faces, marvellous teeth they've got. We always used to aim at them, you know, in the dark.
Yes.
What?
That was a very long time ago. Never mind. Let me ask you something else. What steps is the government taking to preserve this special relationship?
What special relationship?
With America.
Oh, that. Well, apparently I have an opposite number at the other end in, whatever is it,
Washington.
That's his name, yes, Washington. Same name as the place. Anyway, apparently he has an office in this sort of building. I forget what it was called. The polygamy or something like that.
The Pentagon.
The Pentagon. That's it. It's, oh, you know all the answers, don't you? You've been there, haven't you, eh?
No, sir, no, I assure you I have.
Neither have I. Anyhow, it was a fantastic memory you have for names. Could use a young fella like you. Anyway, this fella has this office in Washington, and I've never met him, of course. But I've heard that in his way he's quite as effective at that end as I am at this end.
That's very reassuring.
I'm sure. I wrote to him once, you know. Never got an answer.
Oh.
Yes, it seems he's directly responsible for Anglo-American, whatever it is, to the President himself, Mr. President,
Johnson.
I thought it was Jackson. No, of course. Poor Andrew's dead, isn't he? Yes. Young Roosevelt, that's it, that's the fellow, young Teddy.
Finally, said Ethelred, may I ask you what you consider to be the lasting value of the special relationship with America?
Certainly, yes, I agree.
You agree?
I do, yes, most emphatically.
What is...
Well, what I said before. I always stand by what I said before.
But, Sir Ethelred, you didn't say anything.
And I still think so. Would you mind repeating the question? I've got a touch of quat in the right ear.
What do you consider to be the lasting value of the special relationship?
With
America?
Well, of course, the Americas. Very beautiful country. If they could only get rid of those infernal redskins. Anyway, you see, I suppose a big country like that must be tremendously useful somehow. Take Germany. America could be a great help now.
You mean occupation troops?
Oh, no. Get him, Rover. Get that one. Yes. Oh, no occupation troops. No, nothing as radical as that. Mind you, I don't trust the Kaiser. Never have. And that's one thing I've always believed in, looking ahead. And you can tell your, news seat, tell them that if it wasn't for chaps like me looking ahead, Britain wouldn't be where it is today. Get him, Rover. Have you seen Lillian Gish in that film?
Of the many minority groups fighting in the forthcoming election, undoubtedly the most progressive is the sensationalist party, led by the well-known young impresario and variety agent, Mr. Napoleon Gloss. Mr. Gloss, I understand you would contemplate making many sweeping changes in government policy if you were returned to power.
Contemplate nothing. We'll make 'em. Just give me 6 weeks, that's all I need. 6 weeks and the Houses of Parliament will be strictly Swingsville. I see. What sort of changes do you have in mind, then? Well, you see, you've got to go with the trend. Now, the trend at the moment is groups, and my idea would be to project the Prime Minister as a sort of big name, you see, with the Cabinet as a sort of, backing group. You know what I mean? We'd give 'em all sharp suits and way-out haircuts and that sort of gear. But the Prime Minister's your star, you see. I mean, he's the boy that's going to sell you records, isn't he? Sell your records? Yeah, you see, I didn't tell you. You see, my idea would be to release all the Prime Minister's speeches as single records and bring out the Cabinet meetings as LPs on the Westminster label.
I see. Well, what would be the purpose of this?
Well, I mean, for a start, think of the plugs they'd get. I mean, they'd never be off the air. Believe me, politics could be the biggest thing in this country since rhythm and blues. I mean, can you imagine the impact it would have on the youth of Great Britain to know they got a Prime Minister who was #1 in the charts? You wouldn't need any more of them Jerry Party political broadcasts. He could have his own TV show, Sunday night at the House of Commons.
And do you think this would really work?
Think. Do you know the opportunities the Conservatives have wasted in the last 5 years? I mean, if you think Jerry and the Pacemakers or Freddie and the Dreamers are big, you just imagine Harold Macmillan and the Cabinet Ministers. I mean, imagine them singing You've Never Had It So Good. That could have been a standard, boy. He could have won a gold disc for that. I mean, he'd never have been out to the hit parade. And that Profumo, well, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that he could have been as big as the Beatles if he'd been handled right. By my reckoning, boy, the Tories should have had 3 records in the top 10 right through last summer. They'd have had a gold mine there and they let it slip through their fingers. So they deserved to lose the election. They're just not a commercial government, you see. With this fella Sir Alec, you know, I mean, well, let's face it, you couldn't give him away on records. And what about the Labour Party? Well, what are you going to do with a bunch like that? I mean, Harold Wilson and the Pipe Knockers. I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, there's no glamour, you see. No, I can't see it myself. No. You see, to me, the only way to get this country back in the world spotlight is with a complete set of new faces. And how would you intend to go about that? Well, I've got a group of boys, the sensationalists. They're unbelievable. Unbelievable. I tell you, there's never been a government like them. They'll pack 'em in, boy. They won't be able to get near Parliament Square. I've got a boy... Listen, I got a boy for Chancellor Exchequer. He's fabulous. Another guy I've got, tall, blonde, sexy. He'd make a marvellous foreign secretary. He can sing as well, this boy. I tell you, they're a great group. And you see yourself as Prime Minister? What, me? Oh, not in your life. No, I'm not a performer. Oh, no. I just like to handle them, you know. I just take the usual 40% off the top, and of course, half of that goes on publicity and promotion. You realise that. Then who would be Prime Minister? I'll surprise you. I'm sure you will. No, I will. I'll surprise you. He's a funny little fella. He's no taller than that. If you passed him in the street, you wouldn't look at him. But my God, can he play the drums? Really. Fantastic. If this boy doesn't become one of your great prime ministers, and I mean great, I'll give up the bloody business. And how do you intend to conduct your campaign? Well, I've got some wonderful promotion gimmicks lined up. Real vote catchers, you know. The boys have just recorded a wonderful album of all-time favourite political speeches in the country and western style. And then we've entitled that The Sensationalists Sing Abraham Lincoln. It's a natural chart topper, and I think that and the one-night stands and a couple of Sunday concerts in Westminster Abbey should see us right home. It's been said that no election can be won nowadays without the power of the press. What would you say to that? Well, I'm happy to say that I'm confident we shall have the full support of the Express and the Mirror. The Express and the Mirror, but they're on opposite sides. No, I'm talking about the Musical Express and the Record Mirror. I'm confident that as a result of our full-page adverts in the music papers, there isn't a teenager in the country who won't vote for the sensationalists on election day. But, Mr. Gloss, teenagers aren't allowed to vote in the general election. No, but they're the ones that buy the records, aren't they? I mean, you're joking, aren't you? I'm not at all. You have to be 21 to vote, you know. What? I'll strangle that John Lennon. I will. I'll wring his neck for him. It was his idea, you know. Do you know what he told me? He told me if I was to get together a group, I'd kill that fellow. Wait till, I'll drag his long hair out by the roots. I will, honestly. John, where are you? Quick. But when all is said and done, and the shouting has died down, who is ultimately the most important man in the general election? The voter? No. The man who becomes Prime Minister? Not really. No, surely. Isn't it the man who counts the votes?
See now then. 4,278,391, right? 4,278,392. That's 4,278,393. 4,008,394. We're getting on notice. 4,278,395. 4,278,396. 396.
Cup of tea, sir.
Hey, what?
Cup of tea for you, sir.
A cup of tea, a cup of tea. That's good, a cup of tea. I love a cup of tea. My, that's better. Nothing like a good cup of tea. Nothing like a good cup of tea, I say, Mrs. Fern.
And there was nothing like a good cup of tea.
I suppose so. Now then, let me see now then. What was I done? One, two, three.